Good morning, Chairman.
Good morning, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you all here. And welcome to the Children and Cultural Scrutiny Committee meeting this morning. My name is Councillor Brenda Collier, and I am the chairman of this committee. Also in attendance is my Vice Chairman, Maria Hume. Welcome. I would like to begin with a health and safety announcement. There are no fire drills planned for this morning. In the event of a fire, the alarm going, sounding, we will leave chambers, those doors, I always get it the wrong way round, and go through to reception into the car park and wait for further instruction, please. This meeting is being streamed live via the County Council's website, and all of your comments will remain accessible online after the meeting and can be reported by the media. With this in mind, I would like to welcome members of the public, welcome, and press watching our meeting today. Can I remind everyone to ensure your mobiles and anything that's going to make a noise is switched off, please? I did check mine before I came in. The hearing loop is now activated. And if you wish to speak, please raise your hand so that Councillor Hume can see you and make a note, and we will get to you in turn. And we'll now move on then to the formal agenda this morning. Thank you very much. Jess, do we have any apologies this morning?
We do, thank you, Chairman. We've received apologies from Councillor Robinson and Councillor Mrs Jane Smith, who's replaced by Councillor Beecham. We've also received apologies from Dr Emile van der Zee, the Parent Governor representative. Thank you.
Thank you, Jess, thank you. So item 3, minutes of the previous meeting of the Children's and Culture Scrutiny Committee held on the 5th of June 2026. This is to confirm This is to confirm and sign the minutes from the last meeting of the committee on the 5th of June 2026, and these can be found on pages 5 to 16 of the agenda pack. The minutes are not for debate, but to agree that they are a correct and accurate record of this previous meeting. If you have any questions on the content of the minutes, please contact officers outside of this meeting. Do I have a proposer, please? Thank you, Councillor Daesh. And a seconder? Councillor Brooks, thank you. We will now vote. Those in favour? Councillor Cleaver, did you want to vote on? You're okay? No, thank you. And those against? Any abstentions? Yeah, I thought perhaps, yeah, because you weren't here, were you, with this last time? Thank you, that is agreed then. Thank you very much. Item 4, announcements by the Chairman, Executive Councillors and Lead Officers. I just want to put something in there first myself. I was very, very privileged and pleased to be able to attend the FAB Awards recently at the University of Lincoln. That was on the 13th of June. Along with nearly 200 children that got awarded. Our arms and hands ached from clapping, but to see their little faces and they're dressed up and everything, and they were, yeah, the boys were more shy, but you know, you could see they were proud of themselves that they'd got these awards, and it's fantastic that these children that are in care or care leavers did so well. And yeah, this year's awards attracted a record-breaking number of nominations, with over 1,500 children and young people being nominated, including 5 who received 5 nominations each. Wow, that was a real achievement. It was really super evening. And I'd just like to thank everybody that was involved with putting this together, and anybody at all. It was a wonderful, wonderful thing to acknowledge our children. And all those that didn't get awards, because they're all achieving so much in their lives. So well done, everyone. Just to make the committee aware, I'm proposing to take a 10-minute hydration break. I've heard that word a lot this week. Comfort break, okay. Before item 8, but we'll see how we go this morning. Moving on then, are there any announcements from Councillor Natalie Oliver, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I just want to associate myself with your comments about the FAB Awards. It's always such an amazing day, and this year topped it even more. As you've already said, seeing the faces of all of our children in care and care leavers just truly is an emotional but magnificent day. So I just want to thank everybody that was involved, the staff, our young people, the carers, and our partners for making the event such a resounding success, and I'm already very much looking forward to next year, as I'm sure we all are, so very excited for that. And secondly, I'm delighted to announce the success of the East Midlands Regional Care Cooperative bid, the RCC. So the RCC brings together all 11 upper tier authorities across the East Midlands to work collaboratively on improving the availability and the quality of care placements for our children and our young people. It's intended to strengthen regional sufficiency, improve stability and outcomes for our children. So this will help us ensure that more children can access the right care closer to home. So I'm sure you will all join me in congratulating the success of that bid. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver. Thank you. Okay, finally, are there any announcements from Heather? Please, however Sandy.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So just to acknowledge really for the committee that the government has announced its decision on local government reorganisation in Greater Lincolnshire, and that is to see the creation of 2 new unitary councils, a Lincoln City unitary and a Lincolnshire unitary. The announcement represents the government's intention, which is still subject to legislation and potential legal consequences before any implementation. There'll be no imminent changes to council services or day-to-day operations, and children's services will continue as usual. The council will prepare for elections to shadow authorities in May 2027, with the new authorities expected to go live in April 2028. This is a decision on the geography and the timelines for the implementation of the new authorities. The Lincolnshire Unitary Authority is expected to be the 5th largest authority of its size in the country. We'll know more in coming days, and we'll be working with all the councils and the partners to look at how we get the best outcomes, and for this committee particularly for families, children and young people. There is a lot of work to do. I think it's important to acknowledge that, and it's going to be a long-term process of change. Moving into the unitary authorities will present opportunities for us all for more joined-up decision-making and easier access to services for our residents, but we've got a body of work to do between now and then. So the business of this committee will continue as usual. We'll continue to make decisions now for the Lincolnshire geography, but obviously we will be mindful of the future plans as we do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Will Mason, did you have anything, Will? Okay. Thank you very much. So item 5, performance of library service contract year 10. This item can be found on pages 17 to 58 of the agenda pack and provides an update of the contract performance information to enable the committee to fulfil its role in scrutinising performance of the final year of the outsourced library contract to Greenwich Leisure Limited, also known as GLL. The report also provides an overview of the new contract arrangements with GLL from April 2026. So the action required by the committee are to, first, consider and comment on the performance information included in the pack, in the report. And 2, to consider and support the ongoing development and proposed new contract developments highlighted in the report. And 3, to highlight any additional priorities for consideration. The report will be presented by Louise Egan, Culture Service Manager, Library and Heritage Client Lead. Also in attendance for this item is Will Mason, Head of Culture, and Rebecca Geddeking from GLL. Over to you, Louise. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So as you stated, 25-26 was the final year of the initial outsourced library contract. And as the report and associated appendices show, it was a very strong performance that was delivered throughout that year. We had over 1 million visits to our core libraries. We had over 2 million items were borrowed, and over 1 million digital interactions with our communities. The community use within those core sites reached over 11,000 hours. So that was including kind of partnership working and tailored events for those communities across those sites. The service gifted 9,000 book start packs and we had over 3,500 children participate in our summer reading challenge and facilitated over 80 class group visits for World Book Day alone. There's obviously been some fantastic events and activities throughout the year as well. Again, those are highlighted within the report, but some just to mention delivered by GLL are the talks, family quizzes, artwork to decorate some of the beach huts across the coastal area, and we had engagement with over 200 students from Mablethorpe Academy alone. We've obviously had the book festival, so that was a 2-day celebration of children's literature, and we've supported with health events, health checks and promotion of that proactive health engagement and that preventative agenda for public health within the council. In terms of performance, Appendix C highlights that all of the KPIs were achieved with the exception of the PN session, so that's the public network sessions, so that's the free computers that we've got across our core sites. Now, this is a trend that has increased as more people are using their own devices, so they're coming into our sites using their own laptops and their iPads, so that has meant a decrease in the amount of physical use of the computers within the sites, but we very much are still seeing members of the community needing that public access to the computers, and indeed a lot of the GLL team do provide that tailored support with digital interactions and being able to use the computers and the printers. And you know, there is a demonstrated correlation between that decline of that physical PN use, but that increase with the Wi-Fi sessions. So as I say, people coming in, connecting to that free Wi-Fi, so still receiving that digital support from our libraries. E-usage has also altered within this last year. So e-audio has exceeded e-books for the first time, and e-newspapers and magazines are seeing the largest growth in that digital borrowing that our customers are using. So what people are using libraries for is ever evolving, but importantly, we and GLL are meeting that need, and that is seen through those performance figures there. And what I think is really valid to say is GLL have got kind of a new slogan, which is around books and beyond. So it's about trying to change that perception of libraries. It's not just about the books, it's that wider impact that the libraries have for our residents and our users. And we can see that through the satisfaction survey and the user report detailed within the report itself, and just in terms of that feedback that we are receiving from our customers on the ground of how vital these services are and how welcomed and valued the staff are across those sites. And that again has been demonstrated via the work undertaken with Sheffield University, and we've demonstrated over £26 million worth of social value, and again that's in Appendix D for further details of how that has been broken down. Now for me, an additional point to note for 25-26 was the transfer of the Grantham Library site. So this was a long-standing project, but we've finalised it at the end of 2025, and it enabled GLL to be able to transfer the team over to their organisation, and with that has come quite a lot of developments at the site and investment that GLL have put into that core site specifically. So we are pleased to report that all is going well following that transfer at the end of last year. We've also delivered the repeat costume swaps, so they are very popular for World Book Day and Halloween, so being able to provide a more sustainable route for individuals and not having to always rush out and buy another costume for their child for one day for that school activity. And again, through that, being able to highlight the importance of literacy within that school-aged children and being able to promote the benefits of reading throughout that opportunity as well. We've delivered a repair cafe, so it's about teaching those sewing skills and those really fundamental skills that some members of our community haven't got. So physically going into a site and working with the group there to be able to physically learn that hands-on opportunity of those skills for them moving forwards. And hubs are continuing to be a solid resource for our communities, and they are genuinely valued. And I think it's an opportunity today to be able to provide thanks to all of those wonderful volunteers that we've got across those 34 hubs, and the amount of hours that they put in to ensure that that resource and that amenity is available within some of our rural sites across the county. Finally, just to say, it has been an incredible 10 years partnership with GLL in terms of their dedication, their knowledge, their support. It has been unwavering over that whole period. And again, Appendix E illustrates that journey that we've been on, the numbers that we have engaged with, and the response to that changing demand throughout that 10 years. And there are some impressive figures included within that to note. It was seen as a bold move to be able to outsource the service back in 2016. There were some challenges that some of you may remember during that process, but I think it's fair to say it has been a phenomenal success for that 10 years that we have had. Now, following the competitive process, I'm delighted to announce that we were able to award to GLL the new contract, within which we have stretched KPI targets further, particularly around community use, because that was an area I know that was noted in the last scrutiny meeting. And we have enhanced our expectations over that joint partnership working, and we've got specific KPIs in the new contract to be able to monitor those outcomes and how GLL and the library service interact with other LCC departments for the benefit of our users again. And finally, just to draw your attention to Appendix F. So this is what cements the ethos of our library service, and it also hopefully illustrates those further ambitions we will be working to over this next 5-10 year period with GLL within that new contract that has just commenced. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Louise, and a lovely report. Thank you very much for that. We've had a parent governor representative who's not able to be with us today, and he's asked me to read out some questions, so I shall be doing those first before I open up to anybody else, if that's all right with everyone. So this is from Dr. Emile van der Zee. He's not able to be with us, as I said. He's asking here, and you might have already said this, but I feel it's correct that I should read these out anyway and see how we go. The library service says clearly contribute to our community, supported by the GLL contract. Given the substantial growth in digital usage, is continued LCC support of computer access guaranteed? In brackets, having visited the library and seeing that also secondary school children seem to use the services, it made me wonder how disadvantaged children may continue to enjoy digital access.
Yes, so I think the easy answer to that is yes, LCC do still firmly commit to support with the PN usage across all of our sites, and that's our core sites and those community hubs, so reaching across the whole county. And that's the exact reason that those computers are in there, is to acknowledge that we do still have areas of digital deprivation. We do still have members of the community that don't have access within their own home or within their villages. So that very much will continue to be available. Likewise with the tutoring groups that we offer within the library spaces as well, specifically for to ensure that those that might not be in mainstream schooling have still got access to a safe and welcoming space for that engagement with a tutor. And again, we've also got some of the hublets across some of our sites. So they are kind of like mini iPads, so that it's a bit more flexibility to use within the buildings, especially if the physical computers are already in use. And we will continue to engage with Arts Council funding for grant opportunities. And there is a stream of that is specifically around digital engagement. So we're very mindful of the digital element for all of our community users. Was there anything, Rebecca?
I think to say we've also got some other partnerships looking at redistribution of refurbished devices, so supporting some people who can't afford a device themselves as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think that answers his question there. Thank you. Okay, Councillor Davies, please.
Yeah, thank you. Can I just start by saying what a great report this is? I love the detail and the data behind it. It's really good. It's exactly the kind of thing we should do. And you alluded to 2016, and I remember being sent a number of books at the time, not with the most polite of titles, I may say, by people who objected to what we did back then. But I think this is testament to the hard work that's gone on, and it's about service delivery, not necessarily who pays the people involved and what badge they have on their pay slip. But if I can particularly turn to Grantham, as colleagues will know, and if not, I'll be appalled, Grantham is the home of the world's oldest public library. And can I just say, I think the tradition that carries on at Grantham Library is fantastic. I know it was difficult organising the lease, but I get constant communication from residents, particularly either with respect, very young or very old, who find that building incredibly useful. And I would echo the comments you've had on terms of the access to computer systems, I think are critically important. So I think despite the fact that the computer usage is dropping, I don't think that's an indication that we should take our eyes off the ball, because for many people, you know, even small businesses now, you can't run a business, you can't claim benefits, you can't do a lot of things without access to computers, and it tends to be almost a spiral that people who have least access actually need the most access at times, and I think it's really important we offer that service. I'd also note, I think the digital stuff is brilliant, the fact that people are using it, and I've used that myself, and I found it very convenient and very useful. The only thing I am going to pick up on the report is the social value calculations. Now, I know people in, you know, posh offices with lots of computers and great job titles come up with this stuff, but I would love to see a breakdown of where you've arrived, where the group of people have arrived at the £26 million worth of social value, because I suspect there's quite a lot of finger in the air stuff over that, and I think there's a danger it detracts actually from that really good work here. But if you can explain to me how you've arrived at, or how £26 million was arrived at, I'd be really grateful. But otherwise, thank you very much for the efforts on this, and congratulations on winning the contract.
Thank you very much. It's an absolute pleasure to work with you. I think we've really enjoyed working together over the partnership and developing the libraries nationally and bespoke to Lincolnshire. In terms of the social value calculations, it's a partnership we have with Sheffield Hallam University. So it was looking at putting scientific and kind of monetary values towards things like preventative health, community engagement, volunteer support. What I can do is sort of post this, circulate a bit more information about how those calculations have been have come to.
Thank you very much. Councillor Brooks, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the report. It's absolutely fantastic. I'd like to thank Councillor Oliver for supporting the libraries, because it is a vital community asset, really is. I was at Burley Marsh Library yesterday speaking to the volunteers, and we get school children coming in there and they do their homework there as well as connecting to the Wi-Fi, and for some residents it's the only social activity they get. So I'm all for this, 100%. The contract, I'm assuming, is going to be between 5 and 10 years again. Obviously, with the LGR coming up, is there any way of protecting that so that it can't get changed? Because my only concern is if the new council comes in and scraps it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Obviously, the announcement in terms of the decision for LGR isn't 24 hours old as of yet, but we have been scenario planning all 4 proposals that came in, and what I can say now is we will be working up the detail on how to protect the library service and what that means operationally moving forwards. As Heather mentioned, there is a significant body of work that will need to be done, and we are ready to be able to look at that. I think what I would like to say, though, is rest assured the quality of the service will remain, as will the ambitions of what I've described and mentioned today. And that the reason I can be so confident with that today is the fact that the service, as does all library services for local authorities, has to follow the 4 universal offers that are set out through Library Connected. So in terms of what is achieved, what needs to be delivered, the digital interaction, that wider social engagement, all of that is there within those offers. And every local authority has to ensure that there is a comprehensive and efficient service delivered for its residents. So whilst we obviously haven't got that level of detail from the announcement yesterday, we are ready to be working on that situation now.
Thank you. Can I just come back on that? Councillor Oliver, if we do get any more funding, could you please put it in some of the libraries, especially Burley Marsh? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. As you know, libraries are a huge priority for me. They are very dear to my heart, and the thing that we forget when we talk about libraries is just what they mean to our communities. They are so much more than just libraries. They are lifelines. They are places for our children to build their imagination. It's the opportunity to keep children away from digital devices. I know we're talking a lot about digital and that provision within the libraries, but it's about, you know, inspiring them into reading and what that means for children. You know, I'm very proud of my daughter. She is an absolute bookworm, and the amazing you know, principles that brings when you read those words and you put yourselves into those stories. We've all been there. We've all read books, you know, and for us growing up, it was easier to keep that sort of focus on reading because we didn't have the same digital influence. So it is incredibly important to me, Councillor Brooks. So at any point that we can put any further investment into our libraries, we will well and truly do so. And just on that, I'd just like to thank GLL, and it's great to have Rebecca here today. The collaboration between the council and GLL is truly amazing. It's incredibly dynamic, and what we are achieving, we are truly bucking the trend when it comes to our libraries, and I'm incredibly proud of that. So thank you to you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Councillor Brockaway, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you very much for this excellent report. It's a very interesting read in its own right, actually. I tell you what, I've always got a thing about targets. I always pipe up about this. And we here have a very high-performing contract where you've achieved the targets. And I hear your words that you're stretching the KPIs. I would always want to suggest that one is careful. Yes, KPIs should be there, but they should be there to be encouraging. And I think there is a fine line between a positive KPI, which encourages better and maintaining good performance, and something which deviates attention from the work to achieve the KPI. So can you actually assure me that these are positive KPIs?
I can indeed, yes. So all of the KPIs are specifically about monitoring that interaction that GLL and the library service has with our residents to ensure that we've got that value for money as part of delivering a local authority service. So whilst we are capturing the numbers, a lot of what you will see within the report and the appendices is around those case studies, and it's about that actual lived experience. It's about that feedback that we receive from our customers on an annual basis with a detailed survey, but every time that they interact with someone within the library, there is that feedback that is collected and collated and then utilised to be able to provide the best for what we can for our users. And that's how we can buck the trend, as Councillor Oliver has explained, because we are reacting to those trends, to that feedback, to ensure that this is about delivering the best service we can do, not just about looking at numbers on a spreadsheet, although they are still very important from a contract perspective.
Thank you very much. Councillor Rowe, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I've sat on North Hykeham Town Council now for over 25 years. So actually I sat through this process of change, and I'm sorry you were the enemy. I wasn't on this council. Absolutely, definitely enemy. What we did at the time was that we agreed that this could be no impact on our budget, wasn't going to be allowed. Effectively, what's happened is we've taken over one of the rooms in our hub, as you probably know. We're even subject to finance looking at building another building to take it. That could be an issue with the money. I thought the report was great. The North Hykeham Town Council library has moved on massively. My opinion has changed massively. It is great value. It's great to go in there and see the young people. It's great to use it for councillor clinic. It's nice to be there to see the people who might not be coming to see you, but at least you get the chance to hear all of them. My original question was going to be about social value, but my colleague here was well ahead of me. And it's good to see how it's worked out, because I can't get my head around how it would be. So I really just want to take the opportunity here to say to all the North Hykeham Town Council volunteers, thank you very much, and thank you very much for the support that you give us. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, yes, and I add my thanks to all the volunteers. I use my local hub as well for my residents' meetings, so yeah, thank you very much. Councillor Carey, please.
Okay, thank you, Chair, and an excellent report. Yes, my question is given the increase in use of AI and digital services, what plans are there to improve digital literacy within libraries?
We are looking at different education sessions for members of the public on understanding AI misinformation, disinformation, and how to use it as ethical resource, but also how to question it. So I don't know if many of you have experimented with AI, but we've done some sessions around finance, because often it will incorrectly present figures, and that's a very good visual that we can show members of the public along their own finances. But that is one of the key things that we are looking at with members of the public at the moment. We've got a partnership working with Libraries Connected to roll that out nationally, but also we run IT sessions in libraries anyway, so we're incorporating just some of that into the sessions that we're managing now. So things like using your own device, things like just managing your own privacy. That's another area with AI. If people are using things like ChatGPT or Claude, you might want to lock it down if you don't want your information shared or search information shared wider.
Thank you. Are they encouraged to bring their own devices in? Because it's nothing worse. You learn on one and you go to yours and it's completely different. You forget it. Yeah, okay, that's good.
Yeah, no, we support people with their own devices.
Thank you, that's brilliant. Councillor Daesh, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Brilliant report. Thank you very much. Really appreciate the detail. This might be an odd question. You've got the education system with schools and universities with their library systems. Is there coordination between LCC and those bodies?
So we do have some connection, particularly in Boston, where we have an outsourced university and college area specifically because the local college hasn't got the space to be able to do it. So we do quite a lot of partnership working and signposting across all of those educational sectors with all of our core sites to make sure that they are highlighting the additional resources that we have got. What we do see is particularly during May and coming up to the exam period that increases, and the amount of younger individuals that we have got within our sites to use it as a study space, benefit from the free Wi-Fi, and that they can print from their own devices. We have got that. In terms of the stock, they are two bespoke and separate systems that are used, but we have got relationships with those universities and colleges.
Thank you.
Thank you. I was going to say that if university libraries, if they're being used obviously by the students to gain access to information, references, everything like that, is that on the same par with the schools and the libraries themselves, which we're running as the LCC?
I suppose the same par is quite challenging because they'll have different needs. So I think in the university you'll have a lot of access to the academic texts and resources. What we tend to do in partnership is signpost each other. So all of the students in the university library will be signposted to us to look at some of the public available material that we have. So things like there's a difference between like the textbooks and like a fiction book that you might want to read separately, or kind of generalist views of, cooking, baking, gardening, those kind of materials. So it's just partnership work in terms of projects, notifying each other that each other's resource exists, and working together, but they are on separate systems. The schools is slightly different in that most of them don't have the same kind of library management system, so they will be directed to use ours entirely. And we do actually have a product for schools that is piloting on providing digital resources which links into our catalogue. So that will be shared with the primary schools in the area.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Councillor Cleaver, please.
Thank you. And again, excellent report. Thank you very much. I have a number of things to raise. When we had this discussion a year ago, I think there was quite a discussion about the flat rate funding for the satellite, the community hubs. Sorry, the community hubs. Is that right? And has any work been done on that we should change the formula or bring in a formula where the larger towns, where the hubs are, have a larger slice of the cake?
Thank you. Yeah, no, the rate does stay the same. What I think I can say quite comfortably is that we're not experiencing that is particularly an issue across the libraries. I'm sure every single one of the hubs would love us to double that money, and I acknowledge that there's no index linking of it, but originally it was only ever meant to be a temporary kind of support financial package, and I'm very proud that as a council we've been able to extend that, and we're now in year 11 of it. I think it was particularly important in those early years to help establish the hubs. A lot of the hubs have very wide range source of income now. Obviously, they're very, very dependent on volunteers, but not wholly. Some of them have paid officers as well. So it is still the same. It doesn't seem to be a problem, if I'm honest. I think the hubs operate very healthily, and I think we should all be proud of how independently they operate as well.
Sorry, can I just jump in? I think the other thing to say is, as well as that financial support that's provided, I think the bit that we can't miss is the dedicated team of the library development officers. So there is a dedicated team within GLL that wholly support the community hubs in terms of operationally how you run the library, but also in terms of looking after the welfare and the safeguarding of those volunteers. And they've got the knowledge from all of the hubs around the county to be able to say, this isn't quite working at your site. Have you thought about running this activity, or you need to run this event on this day instead? Or looking at even helping with volunteer drive for where some of the hubs might be reducing the volunteer numbers themselves. So whilst obviously I appreciate what Will's commented on there in terms of the financial, there is a wider wraparound support that those hubs are receiving, and I think that's part of the reason why they do work so well, and why we've not had to have that further discussion around that finance.
Thank you for that. A couple of other questions, if I may. I'm really interested in the mobiles. I find it very noticeable that on your social value graph, they're very high up. They're in the top 4, I think, which is lovely to see. And I'm just really interested to learn a little more about them. In terms then of the housebound residents, how do they actually access the service? Do they have to know that it's there, presumably, and they contact, or are you automatically contacted through social care, or do they have to know you exist and make the phone call themselves, or if they have a laptop, do it on a laptop, of course?
Pretty much all of the above, to be honest. So we do have individuals that will learn about the home service because of the promotion that the team do. What we do find is a lot of individuals will start off on what we call the rural service. So that's where the bus will turn up in kind of a community centre. You will be able to go up and collect the books that you've already reserved, either online, or you can do that through calling the customer service centre. But the relationship that the customers have with those individuals that are working on the mobile is genuinely phenomenal. They will know in advance what types of books, the genres that they like. So when it comes to their repeat visit 3 weeks later, they can say, you've borrowed this one, but you're really going to enjoy this one. And they do build up that relationship, and that works as well from a referrals and a safeguarding point of view from some of our other services in the council, of being able to highlight, are you aware of X? Here's a referral route or a phone number in case you do need a little bit more additional support for whatever reason. What we then find is some of those individuals, their needs do change, they do deteriorate. That is noticeable to those staff members on the mobiles, and they will automatically then transition that individual to the housebound service. Obviously through a conversation beforehand explaining what it is about and what it means and do they want to join it. But that is one of the ways that a lot of our housebound users become part of the service. But again, it is around that promotion that we do alongside that.
Thank you. I'm pleased to hear about that, and that's good to know. And basically the same question again about the community mobiles. Presumably they are available county-wide, and you don't exclude towns that have a core library in them. So any sheltered housing and any care homes anywhere, irrespective of how close they are to a hub or a core library. And again, how do they access the service? How do they know it's there?
It's quite a significant operation. I mean, there's about 200 stops.
That's my question.
and two kind of distribution areas for stock to be able to travel between all of those sites. But basically, anybody who needs that service and who wants access to that service will have access to that service. So it's we promote it wide and far. We work with Louise and other colleagues to make sure that people can refer to us and anyone can request a stop. And then it's factored into the kind of logistics of transportation. But yeah, it's open to everybody and the whole county.
So it sounds to me that you actually need 3 community mobiles rather than 2.
It's working. We're very, very happy with the resources that we have.
Thank you. And finally, as with many others, just to amplify the whole thing about IT support for members of the public in terms of digital exclusion. In many of the strands of work that I do as councillor, you keep picking up this pinch point on all of those different items about people, you need to provide for people who are digitally excluded. So I'm at the moment really interested in trying to join all those things up and have a digital exclusion hub where people can actually have all the training they need in all the apps from all the people in one place. Because clearly there's a whole raft of people who need to use the NHS app, really do need to learn and not be scared of using the NHS app. That's a big issue for me. Similarly, buying their groceries online, if they've got restricted mobility, banking online as well. All of those things come together. And obviously it's really good to know that you're doing this work. And the more we can integrate it in, and I hope you'll be willing to do that, with all these other needs that people have, I think that would be some really great work to do in the years carrying forward.
And I think what's possibly just on that point is that we do work with the NHS, particularly around NHS literacy, and there is an NHS app that we've got champions within the library service themselves that is around promoting, supporting that, helping individuals of how to physically get onto that site to be able to utilise it from a health perspective.
I'd love to know a little bit more about that. Yeah, offline. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, I think our world is going ahead so quick with this digital stuff. It leaves a lot of us behind. For whatever reasons, my age group perhaps, I know of people who've missed appointments because they've not been able to get into these apps and that, and that's worrying, NHS appointments. And also that we will always have certain people in our society that just can't deal with it or don't want to even, so we have to remember there are people out there that don't do these things and they still need help or another form of communication with them. It's always very important. Thank you. Councillor Daesh, please.
Thank you. Got a few questions, but I'll see how we go. This question is about peppercorn rents for hubs. You said in the report that these peppercorn rents were first 5 to 10 years. Have they been finalised now and you've actually got a rental system with the LCC properties?
So for this new contract starting in 2026, we are in the process of continuing with property colleagues and legal colleagues working through the new leases for those hubs that are in LCC buildings. At the minute, that continues to be on the same arrangement of the peppercorn rent with the option of having rent reviews within them. And part of that is to protect the council from a financial perspective if we needed to implement a market rent on those buildings. But I think from what we've been able to evidence of the last 10 years and how successful those hubs have been, that's why the decision has been able to be continuing to support them at that peppercorn, because it's not just about being able to provide books to members of the communities like we've all talked about. It's those additional social engagement elements that those residents benefit from. It's the fact that we do publicise those buildings as safe community spaces. We do promote and welcome councillors having their drop-in sessions in those sites, because you are reaching your constituents within the area within where they live. So when we've put all of that together from an evidence base of how well the hubs are being used, how much the libraries are still being used from a traditional library element as well, the decision was to continue with that peppercorn to be able to show that support that we can provide from a local government perspective.
Thank you. I've got one more question. The newborn baby packs that are issued, have you got any, which is not in here, the feedback from the parents if they need anything else within those packs for further years to come?
The newborn baby packs are actually, it's part of a partnership. It's a government-funded programme for Book Trust. So they provide the newborns really as a kind of welcome to reading, so that every child has a book at home from birth. But then the idea is that those parents will use library services, come and talk to us and borrow items that they might need and talk about any resources. They do offer packs in other languages as well. So we are able to order tailored packs to families that request them and have those discussions. But I think in terms of consultation, there's usually, I think it's about every 5 years when they redesign the packs, they'll do a general consultation to see how the public responded to receiving them and make any adaptations then.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's a brilliant idea. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions, please, before we move on? I just wanted to ask myself, you said we talk a little about children, obviously this is Children's Committee, but just maybe wonder, for some adults now can't speak English very good. Do we do any classes or help them at all, please?
We do. We have English for speakers of other languages. So they tend to work in the form of conversation classes where everyone is welcome, and it'll be kind of basic starter introductions. We also do referrals to adult learning partners as well.
And I think as well, across all of our core sites and then the community hubs, we do have all of the activities that's tailored around every age group. So we have quite a lot of kind of the knit and natters. We have casual seating so that individuals can just come in and just be within that space and talk to whomever it is that they may engage with on that day. We have things like the jigsaws out. So it's literally just a jigsaw on a table that seems very popular of people just coming in and being able to sit down, do a few pieces and then walk away. That's not a advertised activity per se, but there are other activities that are going on within all of our sites to make sure that there's something for everyone.
Thank you, that's very interesting, thank you. And reassuring, because if the parents can't read, then the children aren't going to take that up. I know the schools are very good, but they're very busy, the schools as well, so thank you. Okay. Thank you for all your questions and comments. I propose that the committee is satisfied with the performance information in the report and supports the ongoing development and proposed new contract developments highlighted in the report, and that our comments and views in relation to priorities be shared with relevant officers and GLL partners for consideration. Can you raise your hands, please, if you agree? I think that's agreed. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, item 6. Service level performance reporting against the performance framework 2025-2026 as at Q4. This item is on pages 59 to 72 of the agenda pack and provides a summary of the service level performance against the performance framework of 25-26 for the children's services and the culture services as of Q4. The action required by the committee is to review and comment on the children's and culture service level performance 2025-2026 as at Q4. This report will be presented by Jo Casey, Head of Service, Lincoln and West Lindsey, the Integrated Front Door and EDT, for the children's service performance measures on pages 60 to 66, and by Will Mason, Head of Culture, for the culture service performance measures on pages 66, 67 to 70. Over to you, Jo, and then Will, please, very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Performance across children's services in Q4 remained overall positive, achieving or exceeding with 5 of the measures. In terms of the performance measures for adoption, these measures have been met with the average time taken to match a child to an adoptive family in Q4 being 154 days, and the average time taken to move a child from care to an adoptive family being 466 days in the quarter. For children subject to a child protection plan, at the end of Q4 there was a slight increase from Q3, though Lincolnshire's rate remains lower than national, regional and statistical neighbour averages. This demonstrates that early help services and targeted safeguarding interventions are effective. In terms of children in care, the rate per 10,000 increased slightly in Q4, though remains lower than national, regional and statistical neighbour averages for this measure. There continues to be a strong focus on prevention to ensure children only enter care and remain in care when necessary, and that our children in care transformation work continues. For participation in learning for our 16 and 17-year-old children in care, 86% of eligible young people were engaged in educational training, meeting the target for this measure. For our care leavers in Q4, 94.4% were living in suitable accommodation. This shows that most young people who have left our care are living in appropriate accommodation, and we proactively support young people where accommodation is not deemed to be suitable. Finally, turning to learning and achievement, at the end of Q4, exclusions were above the 0.1 target at 0.19%, which is reflective of the national and regional upward trend since 2020. But on a positive note, the gap between pupils eligible for free school meals and non-free school meals pupils at Key Stage 4 has decreased from 31.7% in 2024 to 30.3% in 2025 and has achieved the target for this measure. And over to Will, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased to say that we actually exceeded 4 of the 5 targets and achieved the 5th one, so it was another very successful quarter. In terms of the interactions, we were a total of 23.8% up, with particularly strong growth in web access, people visiting our website, which was actually up 39%. We found once again that the quality of the product and the range of what we do and how we share that in our social media and on the website has just proven to be very successful, whether it's from our successful concert series at the Castle or more of our kind of core day-to-day offer, but very successful again. We also were very, very successful with the visits to the library website. I think a particular note here is to just think about this as well, not just in terms of kind of year on year and against our target, but the fact that we had over 1 million visits to the library website, which compares to only 300,000 a decade ago. So we've more than tripled the visits to the library website in a decade, which is quite astonishing. It's not all about digital, as we've said this morning, though. Community use of the libraries has been absolutely fantastic, with a 9.5% increase year on year. And I think, as you can see in the report, what's particularly strong there is just the wide range of those community activities. It continues to be an incredibly important part of what we do as a service and how we engage and connect our communities. So we're very proud of that. The overall enjoyment of the Heritage Service continues to be an extremely high number, which we're very, very, very proud of. Overall for the year, it was 98.74%. That's not something we take lightly. We're very, very proud that that's what the public actually score us when they visit. But I think, again, it's important to say that's not the only metric that we look at. So we're very aware that when people are considering visiting heritage attractions and how they spend their leisure time, they look at things like TripAdvisor. So our scores on TripAdvisor continue to be excellent and outstanding, and in places, particularly with the Castle this year, where we've achieved the gold accolade, which puts us in kind of the top 5% of attractions in the entire country. So that's another performance we're very, very proud of. And then finally, in terms of visits to core libraries and mobiles, Louise mentioned it earlier, so we have once again exceeded the 1 million visits, which is just it's a heck of a number when you think that's how many people live in the county. That's quite a successful number. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and congratulations. You've done so well, really, both of you. Thank you for your reports as well. Thank you. I have a question here from Dr. Van der Zee, so I'll start the questions with this one. Of the targets that were not met, children in care, children subject to a child protection plan, permanent exclusions, are there general underlying reasons that may explain this, such as socio-economic factors, as mentioned in the LSCP annual report, or are there separate reasons per KPI? Because if there are general reasons, how could we move forward to addressing these so that several targets are attended to at the same time, please? Jo, thank you.
Thank you. Certainly in terms of children who are subject to a child protection plan and children who are in care, the increases are linked. It's the child's journey when concerns are unfortunately not resolved at child protection planning stage. Some of those children will move on to become children in care. So there is definitely a link. I think there's still a legacy from COVID, from the pandemic, a level of deprivation, families' financial circumstances, an increased complexity and increase in mental health needs are all the reasons why we're seeing this increase. In terms of addressing them, I think really they're wider societal matters, and so it's a whole system approach that's needed to address and support families, and we certainly continue to work with our partners to ensure that children and families receive help at the right time and as early as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Jo. It is very worrying, though, isn't it, that we have this situation? Anybody else want to come in? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just in terms of the permanent exclusions element and part of the question, I think it's worthwhile noting very similar connectivity with the responses that Jo gave around unmet need. Home life, family circumstances have led to an increase in permanent exclusions across the county of Lincolnshire over the last few years. I think if you speak to school leaders, some of that is around social contracting, parents supporting schools, having a unified message around behaviour policies, as well as some parents would say that behaviour policies are a bit inflexible and create some challenges. What I would say is Jo's absolutely right in terms of a place-based approach. What we've found in the education team is where we've done place-based approaches such as Gainsborough, Skegness, when you bring that partnership around a community, whether that's social care, family help, housing, police, health, etc. There are real opportunities to create a better context for children to thrive and improve in terms of their lived experience. What I would also say is, as a local authority, we need to always be really mindful that it's head teacher's duty and responsibility to decide when a child is permanently excluded. And although the numbers are high, I would want to say that over 94% of our schools haven't permanently excluded in Lincolnshire. And so, you know, there is a small...
Sorry, Martin, did you say they haven't?
They haven't excluded in Lincolnshire. So although the numbers are high, it's about a core focused group of work with a core number of schools. And just to reassure the Scrutiny Committee is that in the work that we've done with our quality and effectiveness advisors and targeting schools, we've seen a 16% reduction in permanent exclusions in year. That won't be published yet because the data's lagged by over a year. So just wanted to give some assurance that, you know, the local authorities working in partnership and targeting that area of demand.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Daesh, please.
Thank you for the report. Very good. Really appreciate it. Parents who would like to adopt, we seem to have a smaller amount. The figures for 25, 26, we obviously haven't got. From now, is it, or from 25, has it been improving the adoptive parents?
Thank you. We'll be bringing the latest report through DLT, etc., literally in a couple of months, but it is a much better picture across the region. So we have a centralised recruitment hub, which is FAL, Family Adoption Links, which takes in a number of other regions, local authorities in the regions. It's been really successful in the last 12 months, and I think, as you can see from our performance, the timeliness within the court proceedings as well has improved, and we are one of the top local authorities in the country in terms of the timeliness of proceedings and adoption in the country. So a much better and improving picture. We still want more adopters. We still have a few children that wait a little bit longer than we would want, but it's where we firmly believe that adoption is the plan for those children. And it might be that it's a larger sibling group. So we will wait until we find the right match, because it is so important to get the right match of the adoptive parent for the child's needs.
Just a quick question. Is there any grant system or financial help that would induce more people to start taking in children, you know?
No, there isn't a financial incentive to become adopters. However, we do provide on an individual assessed basis adoption allowances to assist with any individual needs that a child might have that is over and above what we might expect adopters to be supporting with. We've got a strong post-adoption support service as well. So yes, we will do that on an individual basis.
Thank you. Got one more question, if that's possible.
Okay.
The eligibility for free school meals, has that gone up relative to this report, or is it stagnation, or has it gone down?
Thank you for your question. Certainly over the years since the pandemic, the number of children eligible for free school meals has gone up significantly. So the cohort has increased, and there will be some variation in those numbers from September with the introduction of expanded free school meals and targeted free school meals. There's a different approach and funding routes to supporting those children for schools. So you'll hear that language coming forward. But overall, yes, the group's got larger.
Thank you for that information.
Thank you, thank you. Councillor Rowe, please.
Thank you. Martin, Heather, you both know that I take a great interest in permanent exclusions and have done over a long time. I recognise what you're saying, that it is a very small number of schools that are permanently excluding. Is it possible that this is still being done tactically with regard to Ofsted reports? And is there a trend of reasons for exclusions? And just to add one bit, and then I can go away. As a corporate parent, I just wanted to acknowledge the work that the virtual school does for all our cared for children. They work extremely hard to make sure, hard and successfully to make sure that excluding our cared for children is an absolute last resort. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rowe. So I think if we spoke to school leaders, they will feel that they absolutely needed to make that difficult decision to permanently exclude a child using their own local policies, guidance from the DFE and expectations set by their trustees or governors. I don't think they do it tactically. I think there is a correlation between quality of education, Ofsted reports, and meeting the needs of children and young people in certain schools, and that can lead to an increase or over-reliance on using exclusions to treat it. What I would say is it varies a lot. So I won't obviously name the school because it wouldn't be right, but the highest excluding school 18 months ago, after doing a piece of work with us and the local authority, is, 78% less permanent exclusions, which is significant. There is a change of practice, but it's about working with our schools, I think, connecting them with other organisations, delivering that focused work on good quality evidence-based interventions that improve outcomes for children. And so through our quality and effectiveness advisor team, we've seen, in the 72% of schools that have engaged in their work, we've seen over a 16% reduction in permanent exclusions from those secondary schools. The targeted work we've done with the virtual school, so not just about dealing with PX, but also trying to preempt PX. So we've done a project with the virtual school and our Eclipse and communication team to do a language and communication piece with all of the secondary schools. That's gone down really well, and the feedback is that that's made them not need to consider permanent exclusion because they understand that child better. And also when we get into that really tricky position, whether it's a child under the care of the virtual school, the SEND team, it's about coming together and coordinating that response. So we've had some really good examples of our SEND teams and the virtual school key workers working together with schools to find a way through the challenges, put a package of support in, and ultimately avoid the PX wherever possible. So It's a tricky one. I think there is a slight risk in our data moving forward, is that we'll need to understand and see what the recent legislation around mobile phones usage in schools, whether that gets replayed through suspensions and exclusions. But at the moment, we're really hopeful that it won't for next year. So I hope that helps in terms of reassuring you. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Councillor Davies, please.
Yeah, thank you. A couple of points and a couple of questions, if that's right with you, Madam Chairman. Firstly, I don't think, Will, you mentioned the awesome Museum of Lincolnshire Life, which is, I mean, I know there's that big building nearby that's quite impressive, but I would just say the Museum of Lincolnshire Life is brilliant, and there is so much in there. But thank you for all your hard work. On the exclusions thing, I think you're right, and I agree with colleagues that it is a concern, but I think it would be unfair not to mention the impact of disruptive children in the classroom on those children and those families and those parents who are playing the game. And I think the comment that somebody made, and forgive me, I forgot about that social contract point, is very, very important. Because if you have a child who's in a classroom of other children and all of them are there broadly behaving, but you've got somebody who's continually disruptive, I don't know what as a teacher you can do, and there must come a point where it is the only option, because you know there are some children, some families and some parents who don't seem to want to abide by that social contract, and I'm aware of issues in some of my one of my schools where this has happened, so I have a lot of sympathy for schools. So I think we need to be a little bit careful before we start saying that you shouldn't exclude children, because I would imagine, I'm not a teacher, there comes a point where you have tried everything and you've got to think about the wider picture. But in terms of my two questions, particularly, firstly, children in care, obviously we've cancelled, the Edge of Care service has been cancelled recently. I hope that doesn't further hasten this problem. But my specific question about children in care first is, in terms of the breakdown, in terms of going into care, do we know between temporary and permanent what that kind of split looks like, or when we say taken into care, is that the permanent taken into care?
In terms of that last point, this is entrance into care, so it's the number of children in care at that point in time. Every child's plan will be different depending on their needs, their family circumstances. So it's literally a snapshot in time, and would be very individual to each child.
Thank you. That's useful. Is there a metric that gives us a view of how long? I mean, I'm guessing the ambition is that those children don't stay in care for their entire childhood. Is there a metric that says how long they stay in care, or do you see? I'm probably not explaining this very well, so forgive me.
Yeah. Again, it's very individual, but children have independent reviewing officers who review their circumstances. And so there are mechanisms in place to ensure that the plan's still meeting their needs, to consider whether there are other options for them, whether that's returning to their parents' care or to the care of any relatives or anybody else in their network. So there isn't a target as such. It's about what's safe and in a child's best interests. But the principle that children are better within their families, where it's safe for them to be in their families, is certainly what we work to and a priority for us.
Thank you. We do have quite a sophisticated Power BI report. I haven't got the figures for you today, but I can certainly go away and find them. So we can tell you at any one point, using Power BI, how many children have a plan of permanence. So that means they will be in care permanently up until their 18th birthday. There is a caveat in that, though, because actually families change and children's needs change. So we do have a number of children that have been reunified home, still under a care order, but with plans to discharge the care order. I can also give you those numbers as well. And the same where we've got a number of children that are in our task-centred foster care. So that means that they haven't, the care proceedings haven't concluded as yet. So we're not sure at that point in time what the final outcome of the care proceedings is going to be. So we can get that, it's just not in one metric.
And if I may, my final question, thank you. In terms of the care protection plans, and it's a bit like the road safety partnership things when we talk about targets for people killed or seriously injured on the roads, do we think that's still worthy of including here? I know it's probably an important figure to report on, but actually does it drive wrong behaviours where we're monitoring the number of care protection plans that are in place? And is there a danger we'll not do it because that number's going to be reported?
Thank you. So firstly, no, there's no danger that when we reach the target, we say that's it, we can't have any more child protection plans. I think it's important to monitor. I think it's an important sense check of both what we're seeing in communities and how we're responding to it. And I think it's a very good indicator of our children in care trajectories, which obviously is very important to the council. So, and it's reported nationally. So I think it's important to keep in here, but to assure you, we don't, there are no conversations that say we better not put any more children on a child protection plan. It's more there as a barometer and a sensor. Thanks.
Thank you. Did that answer your questions? Thank you very much. Councillor Brooks, please.
Thank you, Chair. Where do I start? I'll start on the positives. The 13 out of the, or 10 out of the 13, brilliant. Exceeded or gone above, that's brilliant. Councillor Rowe, your points, fully agree with those. And I would have been reassured, Martin, had I not actually seen tactical placement of excluded children. And it does happen, unfortunately. And it's no good for the schools or definitely for the children. It's really, really sad. Councillor Davis, and I also agree with you, you shouldn't have children disrupting the classes at all because it's not fair on all the other children. So my concern is, are we looking at the way sanctions are being given out to children in the schools? Because I know certain schools, I'm not mentioning any of them, they kind of give these sanctions out like sweets, basically. And then they escalate and the children just feel like, what's the point? I might as well just carry on, which could make them get worse over time. So my main question is it just certain children or the same children being excluded from one school to another that are making these figures like this? Thank you.
Thank you. So I think there's two, it depends which layer you go down to. So if you look at county-wide data, quite often permanent exclusions are not repeated. You know, the children aren't repeatedly excluded. Suspensions is a good indicator. If a child's been suspended 3 times or more, they are likely to be permanently excluded. So if a school is high excluding, it could well be high perm-exing. What we have found is that some schools' over-reliance on permanent exclusions has been driven due to really tight policies and maybe not trauma-informed policies. That's why we've run inclusion conferences for our secondary schools and our primary schools to give them the information and knowledge to maybe revise and refresh their policies. What I would say is the difficulty here is, as a local authority and a SEND partnership, we can give a lot of guidance and information out, but schools and governing bodies are determined and delegated the task of setting a policy and implementing it. And a lot of the information that you'll see under the SEND reforms is modelled nationally to be rolled out. And of course that fits in with the academised system and schools being in charge of their own destiny as part of a multi-academy trust. So, you know, it's building on those layers of information. I think what I would say is, and I would just want to balance the kind of high levels of PX, is the huge thanks to the number of schools, mainstream schools, that admit children and help with the transition of children back into mainstream schools, because there are schools out there who willingly welcome them, support them and give them that continuity of education with a view of changing life chances. So I hear your point, but just wanted to balance that some of them are really, you know, pushing into that space to support children.
Can I just add to that, Chairman? So I think as well, Councillor Brooks, we're talking about 2 slightly different things. So I think when Councillor Rowe is talking about tactics, he's talking about an old tactic that we saw nationally, which was about off-rolling before Ofsted came in. Actually Ofsted do check all of that now. So Ofsted are much better at really looking, so that although the school could exclude a child before an Ofsted inspection, they don't get much notice, and Ofsted will still look at that and will look at the decisions around that. So just in terms of the tactics, I think they're slightly, you know, I guess any decision a school makes around behaviour is a strategic and an operational and a tactical decision. That's what we do as leaders, isn't it? But I think when we were talking about tactics, it was specifically around some behaviours we used to see that we're seeing much less of now.
Thank you. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Heather. But I think Ofsted need to look a little bit closer, in my own opinion. But regarding academy schools, do you actually check the behaviour policy and see if it all aligns, or do we not? Thank you.
So we've got no, thank you for your follow-up question, by the way. We've got no duty to write, check or deliver on behaviour policies, but we do it as part of our QA work. Is it the right kind of policy? Does it fit in with the culture vision of the school? Is it meeting the needs of children? And our quality and effectiveness advisors have that conversation with the school to say, your policy could be better if this might address some of the problems that you're facing. What I will just refer to is the national SEND reforms that were announced a few months ago, obviously in consultation and going through, but there was an amount of funding presented to all schools around inclusive mainstream funding, which varied based on pupil numbers, and all schools are expected to publish an inclusion strategy by December, which in terms will kind of cross over that, and there is an expectation that Ofsted and partners will check those strategies, policies as well.
Thank you. Councillor Brockway, please.
Thank you very much, Chairman. This is fascinating me. I tell you, former teacher here, okay? So I'm going to stick my neck out. The reason children are disruptive is because they're children. Who in their wisdom decided that the way to educate our children is to shove them into uncomfortable clothes, put them into classrooms where they have to sit on hard chairs with desks that don't necessarily fit their body size? You have sixth formers sometimes on, year 7. And we shove them round from lesson to lesson. They trail around the corridors, they go to their lessons, they may be in for an hour where the teacher has to register them, the teacher has to give them the details of the lesson, and the children have to work, with the teacher very unlikely to be able to get round every child in that lesson. And then we look at the children's behaviour. I think we should be looking at the system's behaviour. The children are children. It is natural for them to be lively and bouncy. You imagine if you're the child going in, you've got English, you've got maths, you've got history, etc., etc. You have to sit at that desk perhaps for up to 5 hours a day. It's ridiculous. Who decided that? And the thing is, that's the system that we're in. But sometimes I think we do have to think outside the box. And when it comes to exclusions, I think it's important that we should do that. Exclusions can be an incredibly positive thing for the child. Because a child doesn't necessarily fit in the system of one school, doesn't mean to say that they're not going to be happy elsewhere. I think there's a problem, Chairman, with the word. You imagine the child who is not settled, who is not happy in school, and children like to be happy, like anybody else. For me, the disruptive child is not a happy child. And disruptive in our sense of the word, we could just say it's a bouncy child, or it's a lively child, but we're making it negative by saying that they're disruptive. And yes, they do disrupt, and yes, they can ruin lessons, so let's be clear about that. But with exclusions, I really wish, I know we have to use the word because that's a national word, but I think we need to introduce something else. You imagine you're the child who is being suspended and then sent out from the school, and we are saying, we are excluding you, we don't want you. What does that do to that child? Does it help them? I doubt it very much indeed. I remember, this sort of thing affects adults similarly, but for some reason, we're more sensitive to the use of certain emotive words in relation to adults than we are with children. So, I mean, it would be very nice if we could recognise the positivity of exclusions, but we need a different word. Okay, and I've got to confess, I haven't thought of one yet. I've been sitting here thinking, I need a clever word now, and I haven't got it. So, but you think about it, you're the naughty child. And so honestly, these naughty children, you get to know them. They are amazing. They are the leaders of tomorrow very often. It just really troubles me that we are seeing this as, what do we mean by good behaviour? Sit silently, put your hand up when the teacher says so. No, it should be the child who's questioning and bouncing and using their energy. But to do that, we, the adults, have to adapt around the child. So I'm going to ask, if we could recognise and encourage the positive outcomes that can happen from an exclusion, putting an unhappy child into a different environment which might suit them. And I've seen this happen on a number of occasions. But can we look for a different word, a different policy, so that that child doesn't see themselves as being left out, or the "we don't want you" concept is absolutely awful. So that's my thoughts on the matter for today, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Did anyone come? Yeah, with that, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Brockway. So we do have our Better Belonging strategy, and our Better Belonging is about making sure that children across Lincolnshire feel that they can belong in the setting that they're in. And we've also developing our inclusion hubs, which again so they'll make room for children who've been excluded, and there'll also be places and capacity for those who haven't. I think I think it's a really positive take on it, and I think you're right. Not all children can learn in the same way, and some children need adjustments. And I'd go back to Martin's point that actually the vast majority of our schools make those adjustments without having to move a placement, and children and young people are thriving. The kind of counter challenge is, for some children, permanent exclusion is a life-altering event, and it instantly removes them from the teachers they've known, the children they've known, the friends that they've known. And I think one of the things that's really difficult is we have to have that balanced discussion, don't we, around that for some children this is a point in which their educational career goes off track, and they don't get their GCSEs and they don't get their A-levels. And so I think the better belonging is what we want. Absolutely, we want children to belong in the settings that they're in, and we want, as a council, to be able to support when that setting's not the right place and find an alternative setting. And from all the other reports that we've brought through, that's not always easy. We work really hard on that. It's expensive, but we work really hard on it. But I think, for me, the better belonging is how we need to respond to it. But I think it's important that we acknowledge that there are also parents for whom they feel that permanent exclusion has been devastating. So this is not, I don't think it's an easy topic, because I think, in lots of ways, everybody's right, aren't they? If your child is in a lesson that is repeatedly disrupted by a child who's unable to learn, that's hard. If your child is removed from a setting and their friends, that's hard. And so I think that, hopefully the better belonging is our attempt to get as close as we can to being able to meet those needs and move those children into a placement that meets their needs without the need for exclusion and therefore the use of the word. But what the data is telling us is we have to keep trying on that, and we have to get better at it. And I accept that.
I mean, that is really excellent news. Thank you ever so much. Would it be possible for me to just find out a little bit more about the Better Belonging policy, please? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very good points. Thank you. Nobody likes to feel differently, do they? Especially children. And I think once we've labelled them, they've got that label for life. So it's a difficult one. Councillor Carey, please.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I've got two questions, if I may. The first one is regarding permanent exclusions. Is there evidence linking increasing exclusions to SEND pressures or unmet mental health issues? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Yeah, so in terms of permanent exclusions, what we're saying is nearly half of permanent exclusions are linked to some form of SEND or unmet need or somewhere in that system. So we would say a child with SEND is being permanently excluded. That's why we make sure that the caseworkers and supporting agencies kind of are aware and get in there earlier. And it's definitely something we've fed back around for schools when you're considering the use of your behaviour policy, your permanent exclusions or suspensions. Don't just think about the behavioural incident, think about what are the implications. Actually, losing a routine, a structure, will that actually inadvertently create more need for suspensions and permanent exclusions? So yeah, SEND is a key part of that.
Yeah, thank you. And moving on from that, from care leavers, how prepared is the service if housing pressures are worsened through Lincolnshire? how prepared is the service if housing pressures are worsened across Lincolnshire, as it is a national problem with housing? So how prepared are Lincolnshire? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. In terms of care leavers, I think you'll be aware that like the local connection test as
Tara,
well.
can you just speak into your mic? Thank you.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry. The local connection test has gone now, and so a care leaver will be entitled to local housing in the area that best suits them. So we have a number of care leavers that live out of Lincolnshire because that's where their families have moved to, or that's where their setting was, their placement before they became a care leaver, and they very much want to remain there. So our care leaver population is really quite dispersed, across the East Midlands and further afield. But that local connection test that's gone now is a real welcome addition.
I think it's a really good challenge, Councillor Carey. I think that, we're not, as a council, responsible for housing currently. And we know that the 2 new unitaries are. I think that is an area where we will unlock some potential. And I think it will give us, it's one of the areas where we'll have some opportunities to work in a more integrated and joined up way. But at the moment, our district councils are really good partners with us for this, and they prioritise our care leavers. And I think it's a really helpful question for us to consider, so thank you.
Charlotte, did you want to come in there?
Well, I was only going to add that we provide also supported accommodation where a lot of our care leavers live as well. A paper came through Scrutiny a few months ago looking at the new model for supported accommodation for our care leavers, and that includes recommendations on increasing the number of in-house supported accommodation beds that we have for our young people, as well as making more solo provision available to meet their needs. And we're currently going through the tendering process for that contract. But we feel really confident that we've mapped and modelled the needs of care leavers and growth numbers, etc., so that we have got the availability of accommodation with support for a lot of them that then supports them to move into independent living as they get older.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hume would like to ask a question.
Thank you. It's just a very brief one. Obviously, and we know that it's the head teachers that make the final decision on exclusions, but I do wonder, is there any sort of independent or external review process of the grounds of that exclusion?
Thank you, Councillor Hume. Yes, every permanent exclusion, when it's formally notified to families, obviously having hopefully been verbally articulated to them beforehand, will outline an appeals process. So there has to be an independent review panel to review the quality of the reasoning, the decision, and in Lincolnshire, and the DFE numbers don't always kind of reflect this because of the nature of how they're collected, but in Lincolnshire we have had cases, particularly with vulnerable children, children under the care of the virtual school, etc., where the panels have overturned a decision, and obviously that then needs to be managed with a head teacher in a school. So to give you some assurance, where that takes place, it's really thorough, and there are very robust conversations that take place independently of the local authority.
Thank you. Can I just ask, how successful are the transition rates, getting them back into mainstream school, if it's suitable?
Thank you. So transition rates are really positive for those children who are in alternative provision. So we've managed to transition, I think it was 29 last year, children from AP into mainstream school.
Out how many, Martin?
Those would have been children who've been permanently excluded, so about 220-ish. So there is a contextual reason for that, because if those children have an EHCP, then transitioning them takes a different format because we have to go through the SEND process. But those children have gone through to mainstream schools. We've had some really wonderful case studies of a fresh start, new school, new friends, new curriculum, teachers, and really moving forward with some great outcomes. And particularly, I'm thinking of a group of children from 3 years ago that transitioned, where they were never ever going to go into a mainstream setting, and they did the GCSEs and achieved brilliantly, and they would never have been able to have done that if they hadn't had the opportunity to take the risk with the school, the family and the AP to embark on giving it a fresh start.
Thank you, that's interesting. It just shows that these systems do work, if you like. You know, we need to look a bit more careful, I think, at what we're doing with our children. Thank you. Are there any more questions or comments anybody like to make? Thank you very much. I'm sorry, Councillor Oliver, I didn't see you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to, I mean, I could literally sit here and talk about this all day, to be honest, but I'm incredibly proud of what we are achieving here in Lincolnshire. We are well and truly leading the way with our Better Belonging strategy, so really refreshing to hear Heather talk about it, and for Councillor Brockway to request more information surrounding it. It's something that I signed off on last year. I was very clear that we needed to be very ambitious in this space. We are way ahead of the curve in terms of the direction of travel. We are pushing for 30 SEND and AP hubs each year for the next 3 years to create 600 placements locally in Lincolnshire for our children and our families. So this is before any of the national reforms actually come through. This is what we are doing in Lincolnshire for our families and our children that so desperately need the additional support. The alternative provision is an incredible service. I went out to visit Springwell Academy in Lincoln a couple of weeks ago. They do incredible work. I think the problem we've got now is we've got an education system where we constantly try and put square pegs into round holes. All of our children are different, and what we should be doing is we should be giving every child the opportunity to thrive and absolutely do the best that they possibly can throughout the education time in their lives. So it's really refreshing that we are completely looking at the education system as anew. The promotion of inclusion is there throughout. Our schools are really starting to get on board with this, which is brilliant, because obviously that assists us in being able to deliver on our strategy. I would also like to add that the Ofsted framework is changing, so there will be a focus on inclusion. This will also help to change the mindset of schools and actually get them thinking differently about whether or not to exclude or whether or not there is a different possibility to be able for that child to thrive and not just to label them and have a negative impact on them moving forward. So lots happening in this space. It's something that you can probably tell I'm incredibly proud of, and we will continue to push and do the best for all of our children in Lincolnshire.
Thank you very much, and I know that we're all very passionate about our children here. We want the best for all of them, even those little ones that have to be excluded, and we will find a different word for that, Councillor Brockway, I'm sure. Thank you.
Chair, we won't need to exclude if they are included. That's the whole point.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, thank you. Right, thank you for your questions and comments. This concludes this discussion. I propose that the committee has reviewed the report and is satisfied with the Children's and Culture Service level performance for 2025 to 26 as at Q4. Can you please raise your hands if you agree? I think that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm going to call on our hydration break. I think we'll take it a little bit earlier because we've gone into a little bit longer. So if, let's have a look. 1:45, if we could be back, please. Thank you very much. And can you make sure that your laptops or anything are secure as you leave the chambers? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Right, so we're on to item 7, Scrutiny Committee Performance Framework 2026 to 27, Children's and Culture. This item is on pages 73 to 84 of the agenda pack and is for pre-decision scrutiny. The committee is being consulted on the proposed key performance indicators that will be reported to the Children's and Culture Scrutiny Committee. The report is due for consideration by the Executive Councillor for Children's Services between the 23rd of July and the 4th of August 2026, and all comments from the committee will be reported to the Executive Councillor prior to her decision. The actions required by the committee are to review and scrutinise and attach the attached report to the Executive Council for Children's Services. The report will be presented by Heather Sandy, Executive Director of Children's Services and Deputy Chief Executive. We also have Samantha Harrison and Business Intelligence Team Manager in attendance to help answer any questions. Over to you, Heather, please. Thank you.
Thank you. So the previous item was looking back on our Q4 performance, and this item is a forward-looking document, and it's asking members to consider the measures that will form part of the committee's performance framework for 26-27 before the Exec Councillor takes the final decision. The framework contains 13 targeted indicators, 8 relating to children's services and 5 relating to culture services. They cover 4 broad areas: keeping children safe and supporting stable family lives, educational achievement and inclusion, preparing children in care and care leavers for adult life, and the reach and quality of our culture services. The measures were developed through the Council's annual performance review. Service leads looked at the existing indicators, the current performance, regional and national benchmarking, and whether each measure still gave members useful oversight. There's been no removals from the Children and Culture Scrutiny Framework. All 8 of the children's indicators and the 5 culture indicators have been retained. We have reviewed the targets and we've made some changes to the wording of the culture measures to reflect the new library contract that we've just discussed and the way in which residents use digital services, setting a new baseline for actual performance levels from 25-26. So that maintains continuity for the committee, and the benchmarking ensures that the measures remain current and meaningful. So our aim here is to keep a manageable set that covers the main parts of the committee's remit and having enough continuity so that we can track trends over time. Particularly within children's services, a lot of our measures are national, so they're measures that we have to report on nationally as well. The targets were then reviewed against recent performance, as I've said, and known pressures and service changes. So the indicators are intended to provide you as members with a clear, consistent set of members so that you can look at where we've got changing demand, changing performance, and so that you can hold services to account. They're not intended to represent every single thing which the Council does across the broad committee remit. They sit alongside the wider stuff that we do. So the Council plan framework has other indicators in. We also do statutory returns. We have service dashboards. We have inspection evidence, financial reporting coming through here. And then we do more detailed reports on areas such as SEND, early help, regulated services. And we have our corporate parenting panel as well, which also receives a set of different indicators. It's also important, I think, to say that these indicators should not be considered in isolation, and we've had a bit of a discussion about that with the CP ones today. You know, it's not necessarily always that smaller or bigger is better. It's about having that contextual information as well, the direction of travel, the comparison with other authorities who are working in a similar national context, and the circumstances behind the figures. And most importantly, it's about looking at what the measures are telling us about outcomes for children, families and communities in Lincolnshire. The proposed targets for children in care and child protection plans recognise the increased level of demand that we're currently experiencing, which again we've just talked about in the Q4 reporting, and they also recognise that Lincolnshire's rates remain comparatively low. Our transformation and reunification work continues, and our decisions are based on individual child level risk rather than numerical targets. The measures relating to adoption, education, children in care participating in learning and suitable accommodation for care leavers provide continuity from the previous year. They'll enable members to see whether the strong performance is being sustained and where wider national pressures, such as the shortage of adopters, which again we've talked about, and increasing exclusions are affecting us locally. For culture, the framework reflects significant growth in physical, digital and community use. Targets have been updated to reflect recent performance, and in the case of libraries, the expectations arising from the new contract, which you've just scrutinised. The digital measures also have been broadened so that it reflects not only website, but also app use and other digital interactions. There's an important change to the process this year. Previously, following year's indicators were at the end of the Q4 reports. This new approach sees them as a separate item to give members an opportunity to examine the proposed measures and make suggestions before the Executive Councillor takes the decision. So any comments or proposed changes from today's discussion will be reported to the Executive Councillor before the framework is determined. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you very much. I'd like now to hand over to any questions, please. Oh, I've got the one first from Dr. Van der Zee. I must read that out. So he's saying here, was consideration given to SEND support, mental health support and early help, given increasing issues with dimensions?
Yeah, if I start with that and then colleagues with more detailed knowledge will come in. I think it's a really good question because we know they are areas that we're seeing pressures. So on mental health first, there is a separate reporting mechanism for mental health which goes through the health scrutiny and there are targets within there and there are chances for scrutiny of that within there, and also it's delivered by partners in health rather than by children's services. On SEND, we have again got our new SEND reforms coming in, so I have no doubt that that will be an area that as we move through the SEND reforms we will look at how we're doing our reporting and may wish to consider changes, but at the minute we're waiting for national changes within that. And I've forgotten what the third one is, Councillor Collier, sorry. And early help, thank you. So early help also is subject to national reforms. And again, we're going to see those national reforms come through. They will have specific national targeting within that. And as they come through, that's part of the Families First programme with the government. We've received some allocation of funding with regard to that. And that has already been reported through this committee and will continue to be reported. And as the time becomes appropriate, I think there are areas that we will look at in more depth.
Thank you. That was a sufficient answer there, wasn't it? Everybody agree on that? Thank you. I'd like to do a good job for Dr. Van der Zee because he's not able to be with us. Okay, so over to Councillor Davies then, please.
Thank you. When I look over and we look back over the last 12 months of children's services, I think there are three themes really that stand out as being concerning areas. In particular, EHCP target times, SEND transport and more broadly finance. Now I appreciate you will probably say to me, oh well they're picked up elsewhere or we're waiting on national decisions or they're outside our control. But I think for this committee, Madam Chairman, while I accept there are narratives to go against all of those things, I think when you look at the volume of money we're talking about, the challenges of things like the EHCP processing times, and then the audacity at times of the SEND transport issue in a variety of different ways, I do think they warrant, they're so significant, they warrant kind of escalating to this level. I have no doubt they exist elsewhere in dashboards, but I think for this committee, I think they're three reoccurring themes. And if you look back over probably 2, 3, 4 years of agenda items and minutes, they keep coming up. So I suspect they would warrant some attention on a visual level at this level, Madam Chairman.
Who did you want to address that? Was it a question or just a comment?
Well, it's to you, really, because I guess it's for you and this committee to decide what we want to see, isn't it?
Yes, it is something that comes up time and time again, and it certainly is something I know that's been worked on.
Yeah, I've not, and I'm sure...
I'm afraid, everything takes so much time.
I'm sure we have the data. I don't think it would be beyond the wit of man to include that, and I would ask for support from colleagues that this goes into this report. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I think we're all passionate about getting this right for our children again. Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you. Oh, Heather, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Councillor Davies. So the finance reporting for this council goes through OSMB, so that brings where you've got cross-cutting items, and I think members of this committee are welcome to observe that, and also the chairman of this committee sits on there, but I think we keep all the finance reporting together, but we do bring through the budget reporting as a separate item within here. In terms of the send transport, I think you're right. I think it's an area that has created growing pressure. We used to have it here. So we used to report education transport here and then separately do the rest of the transport in the Highways Committee. And then there was a decision made a few years ago to move it all into there. So I think, again, we can take those comments, absolutely, but they're all sat in those other places. And in the EHCP ones, you know, I understand, and like I say, as the send reform comes through, they're targets that have been in and out. So I think we can take that away and have consideration of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Brooks, please.
Thank you, Chair. It's just a little observation. In agenda item 6, it says that exclusions are increasing, and then on 1.3 at the bottom, on the blue box, it says decreasing school permanent exclusions. Is it just the way it's worded? Because one's for 25, 26, and one's for like now. So if you can just clarify that for me, thank you.
I'll clarify that for you, no problem. Yeah, it goes back to that point around data release. So any targets we set now is for this year, and our informal data has already informed that. Just to be clear, the national benchmarking data, though, will be in 2 years' time. So just so when we're setting targets, benchmarking data leads what we kind of say, but hopefully that clears that bit up for you.
I think the bit to be really clear on, Councillor Brooks, is we are actually seeing a decrease in exclusions at the minute, but the data is very lagged, and then also we haven't done the full year, and I think probably Martin's always a bit nervous to say we're seeing exclusions, because then we might see you know, a spike at the end of the year, but we've been working really hard on it, and we have seen some decrease in exclusions, but on the reported data that won't be in there yet.
Thank you for clarifying that. It's just if anybody's reading or watching it, they would be a little bit confused, so I just want to clarify it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Daesh, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I would like to know about, from now on, KPIs rather than from previous incarnation of year or so. Can you clarify that using them will enhance what you're doing in day-to-day work, or will you have to be a month or 2 months forward from making clarifications of where you're going?
Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Daesh. So effectively, as we've just, the exclusions is a really good example of that. So we've got live data that we know. We can't benchmark that yet. So it could be we've seen a decline in exclusions, but so has everyone else. So our position stayed the same. And so there is a combination of the services will be using live data to respond to in the here and now. Then there is a level of reporting all the way through. So you'll have reporting that's at Scrutiny Committee, you get reporting that goes to OSMB, you get reporting that goes as part of the council plan to full council. So we have those layers, and it goes right down to, even to like an individual team manager in social care will be able to see if a visit is late. And you won't wait for that to come through on the data. They'll say, we've got a day to get that visit in. Can you confirm you're going to get that visit in today? And try very hard. So I would say that the target setting, we are a data-driven organisation. We want, these targets are important, and we want to, we set them at a point that's ambitious, and that it does, it does change our practice. But also we have the live data that we know will feed through into this. What the purpose of this set of data is more for you as members to have that ability to keep a sense check on how are things across the whole.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Councillor Cleaver, please.
Thank you, Chairman. And I'd like to build on what Councillor Davis said. obviously the main focus of any scrutiny committee is to scrutinise the work of the council.
I'm sorry, Councillor Cleaver, I'm not catching every word you're saying.
To beg your pardon. I said we're all aware of the fact that the role of scrutiny committees, the main focus is to scrutinise the work of the council, but we do also have a brief, I believe, constitutionally, to take a wider look at the subject area that we are scrutinising, and then put the council's work into that context. So, you know, we can actually ask for reports from external bodies. We can research a particular subject much more deeply if we wish to. So I would like the KPIs to be based around both principles, that there are things we need to look at and know about that's going on in the wider world, things we're not directly responsible for, but affect our work and could lead to things where we might want to take on a non-statutory responsibility and step in where nobody else is going to do so. And we've had that conversation, of course, offline about NEETs, for example, where we don't have a direct responsibility, but clearly, as elected members caring for the people of Lincolnshire, we might wish to do something about it. So I really would like to see us framing both KPIs, and I'd take on board what Councillor Davis says, about a dashboard as well. There are things that we want to see reported on, over which we have no control, where we don't have a performance target, but somebody else might do, and if they don't, perhaps they should. About things like schools' performance is an obvious one for this committee, but there are other things as well. So I don't want us to, I wish we could have a framework that we agree of a set of dashboard figures that we would like to see quarterly, alongside the KPIs. But when it comes down to the KPIs, specifically, now to be specific, there's a few things that are covered by this committee that aren't mentioned, that I'd like to just mention, if I may, and pick up on. We've had a conversation when we had a schools building project a couple of sessions ago, a couple of months ago, I think, which brought out some interesting points. And given that we own those buildings, almost all of them, I believe, and someone has to take responsibility for them, I wonder whether there should be a KPI about the level of a percentage of school buildings with Cat B, Cat D and Cat C defects. Now, I don't know whether that comes under committee or comes under property. It comes under property, okay. Forget that one then. We've got a KPI which is about performance, the gap at Key Stage 4 between children in care and everybody else. Is that the gap between Lincolnshire children or the national gap? But also, why are we only reporting on the gap? Again, it might be something for a dashboard rather than a KPI. And why only Key Stage 4? You know, all the stages are key, otherwise they wouldn't be called key stages. So if they're key, we should be knowing about them, surely. So I think we're being a bit too restrictive on that particular measure, because actually there's very few education measures in the KPIs at all. And so to focus just on the gap on that gap and only Key Stage 4 seems to be over-restrictive in my view. And I think anyone looking at that would ask the same question. The other thing we're responsible for, of course, as a local authority, is statutory responsibility, is the school places, and having an adequate number of school places. And again, perhaps not all of those things need to go into a KPI. They certainly need to be in a dashboard. One of the things that's an obvious KPI is proportion of applicants getting their first choice and taking up their first choice, and the proportion at the other end of the scale who have to take a place, who end up taking a place in a school that they didn't even put down as a choice. I think that should be a KPI, certainly.
Can we just come back to you here, Councillor Cleaver?
Yeah, I think
So
that
thank
covers
you.
it.
Yes, I think
I've just
got enough
reminded
going.
that covers
That's
it all,
very informative, very interesting. Does anybody want to come back on that, please? Thank you.
So thanks ever so much, Councillor Cleaver. So so I'll go backwards. So in terms of the school places, we do report that here every year. So we bring that through. So again, it's not everything's in as KPIs, because you wouldn't want that reported every quarter, because we get an annual snapshot. So where we have an annual snapshot, we tend to bring that through as a report. That gives a bit of context to it, because actually you don't just want the numbers, do you? You want to know where we've got certain areas where more parents had it, and then you'll want to know what we're doing about it. So that's an example of one which we do report. It is our statutory duty, and we bring that through, and Matt Clayton brings a report and talks through what we've done and how we're doing it. I think that the Key Stage 4 one, you know, that's an interesting reflection. I think, again, the education ones have been in and out. We used to have measures in here about schools judged good and outstanding. They were removed about 2 years ago. And actually now we don't have those kind of metrics because Ofsted reporting has changed. And I think there was a level around being really clear, both with the public, because these are public measures as well, about what we are responsible for and what we're not responsible for, and where responsibility sits with schools. And I know that's something as a committee we talk about a lot, isn't it? I think we'll note your comments around the dashboard and wanting a wider contextual dashboard. I think that is available. I think we have dashboards available on the observatory, is it called, Sam? And so we have a portal, and it's linked in the Q4 report, and maybe we need to make a little bit more of that when we cover the report, so that we pull that through. But I think we you know, we'll all those comments will be noted. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Could I ask that some information about the observatory and how we access it could be made available to all members of the committee, please? I think that'd be helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for those points, Councillor Cleaver, and thank you, Heather. Councillor Carey, please.
So my question has already been asked, so by Councillor Davis. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other questions or anything like that to say at all? Okay, thank you very much. So that concludes that discussion. Thank you for all your comments. A summary of our comments are as captured by the Health Scrutiny Officer will be shared with the Executive Council for her consideration. I propose that the committee has reviewed and scrutinised the report to the Executive Councillor for Children's Services. Can you please raise your hand if you agree? I think that's a unanimous. Thank you very much, everyone. Item 8. And thank you. If you have to leave, that's fine. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you. This item is on pages 85 to 122 of the agenda pack, and sets out the Lincolnshire Safeguarding Children's Partnerships annual report for April 2025 to March 2026. The actions required by the committee are to review and comment on the work and functions of the Lincolnshire's Safeguarding Children's Partnership, and be assured of activity by the partnership to safeguard and promote the welfare of children in Lincolnshire. The report will be presented by Chris Cook, Independent Scrutineer of the LSCP, and Stacey Waller, LSCP Business Manager, who will be providing us with a presentation. I would also like to welcome Nicola Ryan, Deputy Chief Nurse for Operations and Delivery from the NHS Lincolnshire Integrated Care Board, who is attending via Teams to represent Health on behalf of the LSCP. Unfortunately, a delegate from the Office of the Police and Crime Commissioner cannot attend today to represent the police on behalf of the partnership. I will be allowing Nicola to participate for this item, and she is welcome to ask questions to Chris and Stacey at the end of their presentation. First, I would like to just read out this thank you. I would like to acknowledge correspondence received from members of the public who are observing today's meeting from the public gallery. This relates to an individual case that has been brought to the attention of Lincolnshire's Safeguarding and Children Partnership and Children's Services. While Scrutiny is not in a position to consider or discuss individual cases in a public forum, I would like to offer assurance assurance that this communication has been received and has been noted. A response will be provided in due course through the appropriate channels. Thank you. We'll hand over now to Chris and Stacey. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for inviting us today to present the annual report of the Children's Partnership, which is a coordinating body. It's not a frontline service, but it coordinates the frontline services, many of them indeed, and also challenges those frontline services if they're not attaining what they should be attaining. And I, as independent scrutineer, play a big role in that. We do have a presentation for you. It will be a double act. We'll try and get through it as briefly as possible for you. You've had the report, and we promise it won't be death by PowerPoint. So if I could have the first slide, please. This first slide just outlines the key agencies that are involved in this partnership, play a huge role. And you will see local authority there on the left-hand side. And as a result of yesterday's announcement by the government, then clearly things are going to change in our partnership world, but it's very early days. But we'll be doing a lot of work to ensure that the partnership remains very strong. It's got a history of strength, a history of commitment, and we will look to maintain that in the interest of children and families in Lincolnshire. On the right-hand side is the ICB, and I know we've got a colleague here from the ICB today, but the ICB has undergone major changes as well and now forms part of a cluster in a sort of a regional model. And so we are dealing with that as well. And at the top of the circle, the police. Now, the police are also subject of review and potential boundary changes. Lord Hogan Howe is carrying out a review into the police nationally, and I'm told he's going to report in the summer. When the summer is, I'm not too sure. But so potentially major changes for the partnership, but we will respond positively to that. At the bottom there, we've got education. Education plays a significant part in this duty, and we've always had teachers and members from the education sector involved in safeguarding, quite rightly so, but it's become more formalised now. There is a more formal structure, which we'll talk about later in the presentation. You will notice also below there are a number of other agencies that are involved in safeguarding. As we always say, safeguarding is everybody's business. So if you are a bin man in a district council in South West or South East Lincolnshire, you can support children in the community. So it's extremely important. Thank you.
I must ask the members present here today, you are here as to sit here quietly. If you can't sit quietly, would you please leave? We are adjourning the meeting. Thank Okay, thank you, everybody. We're back over to Chris Cook then, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So if I could have the second slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so overall assurance, are children safer? And that's a really important point that we need to monitor throughout the year. And as I said previously, professionally challenge the agencies. So we're looking at things that have improved. Multi-agency oversight of child exploitation, and we will be talking about exploitation later in the presentation. But it's very important subject, very complex subject that needs attention. It needs attention of specialists, and we're looking at stronger multi-agency oversight. It's so important. I talked about the greater education involvement across the partnership. I actually attend meetings with teachers and have been really impressed with the commitment you get from the education sector. I'm aware of some cases where teachers have stayed at school till 8, 9 o'clock at night with a child to ensure that child is properly protected. And they do work above and beyond the call of duty, there's no doubt about it. And at the end of the day, these teachers are working with these children on a daily basis, and they're noting their behaviour on a daily basis, and they're doing an excellent job. And also, we're looking at the wider reach of online safety. Now, online safety is another large and complex area of our work, and we will be talking about that later. What still concerns us, and when we say that, it doesn't mean that in a negative way. We're always looking for improvement. We're always looking to identify the learning that's taken place. So there are some gaps in the quality and reliability of domestic abuse data. Just to let you know, we do not govern the domestic abuse work in this county, but we work closely with the Domestic Abuse Partnership. We're still embedding the use of neglect tools and resources. Once again, neglect, a very complex area of work, and it's important that we provide tools, training, resources for frontline practitioners to deal with this very complex area. And the need to evidence more clearly whether training and guidance are changing practice. Evaluation is so important. It's no good putting resources into something if it's not working. So we need to ensure that these things do work. So what are we going to do next? We're going to strengthen performance and impact reporting. The committee's already been talking to the Director of Children's Services this morning about performance. Performance reporting is so important. Test whether learning is being embedded in frontline practice, and focus partnership activity on areas of high risk. Thank you. So I go back to education. The district safeguarding networks are so important, and it's amazing how they can share good practice in those meetings, and individual teachers from different schools can actually identify pieces of good work that they can take back to their schools from their colleagues. The meetings I've been attended, you've had somewhere in the region of 50, 60 teachers attending those meetings during the day from a large variety of schools. So once again, I can say that the commitment is very high. Okay, so if we could move on, please. Thank you. So I've talked about child exploitation. It's in various forms: sexual child exploitation, criminal child exploitation. You'll have heard of county lines. Some of our vulnerable children are subjected to the county lines, organised crime gangs. We are an importer of county lines. A lot of people organise and coming to Lincolnshire from other parts of the country. And so we need a system that works. We need to be able to identify activity in this area. We need to be able to identify vulnerable children in this area, and we need to look at outcomes and how we can support those children. So it's a very important piece of work. You will be aware, I think, that Lincolnshire Police have been inspected recently, and there has been some challenges from their inspectorate about child exploitation. And Stacey and I are personally working with Lincolnshire Police to strengthen their processes to improve, from their point of view, their perspective on child exploitation. Okay, if you'd like to move on, thank you. And I'll hand over to Stacey. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So I'm Stacey Waller. I'm the business manager for the Lincolnshire Safeguarding Children's Partnership. So our second strategic priority is around enhancing the emotional well-being of children through trauma-aware practices. Within the partnership, we recognise that prevention and early intervention is key to supporting our children, and we also fully embrace the role that our schools play in this. They have the trusted relationships with our children, so we gear to wrapping our support around them, and that has been a key focus of work. We've developed a range of training with partners supported by we've supported the Stay Safe partnership to deliver direct work to children, and the children in Lincolnshire have helped us develop a short video to use in some of our campaigns, and that is them talking about what they want from parents to support their own emotional well-being. Over the next year, we'll look to do the same with our secondary age children. With regards to future plans, we have actually now launched the trauma-informed practice training. This has come really timely, especially in light of the findings from the Victoria Martin National Review and the focus on working with parental trauma. So again, it feels like we're kind of not necessarily ahead of the game, but we're sort of being really timely in what we're driving and seeing locally and what's happening nationally. The next slide, please, Jess. So the next one is on neglect, and again this has been a really key focus for us, particularly over the last 18 months. We've refreshed the neglect strategy, and that was really timely with regards to other bigger pieces of work that was going on with regards to the family help strategy and the meeting the needs document, which is our threshold document demonstrating our continuum of support and care. We've continued to deliver with a series of workshops, and just in the last month we delivered a session as part of our Lincolnshire Safeguarding Children's Week, and now in the process of reviewing the feedback and the impact around the work that we have been doing. Our strategic management group signed off a shared protocol with regards to home conditions and safeguarding, and that was in response to a number of conversations with our district council colleagues who have been heavily involved in that work, and that has now launched and been published, and we're hoping to see the benefit of that. And with regards to the neglect resources and tools that we launched in 2024, we're now starting to see and hear some of the impact that that is having around work directly with children and with families. We've seen examples of where that's used in staff case supervision, resulting in a refocus and a review of the plan. And we're often hearing feedback that the tools are enabling honest, open, transparent conversations with families, relating the concerns back to the impact on the child, and ultimately safeguarding those children. Thank you. So with regards to the impact of sexual and physical harm, we've done a lot of work again around child sexual abuse. Since 2021, we've been engaged with the Centre of Expertise, who have been commissioned by Barnardo's and the Home Office, and we were one of their pilot areas, and that work has continued. In addition to this, there has been a focus with regards to physical harm, and there was a number of incidents involving children taking medication that wasn't prescribed to them. So we were able to develop guidance for parents on reducing the harm by keeping medication secure, and our colleagues in the Child Death Overview panel engaged with local pharmacies around a campaign just reminding parents of the dangers and the risks to hopefully promote those key messages. Similar to the work that we've completed with the neglect tools, the focus over the coming year will be around how practitioners have used the child sexual abuse resources and the pathways, and how we're seeing them evidence in practice. I'm sure the committee would appreciate it's one thing us saying we're doing this, but you will challenge us, rightly so, around what difference is it making. Thank you.
So a really important part of our work is to adapt to change. We need to adapt to change to support children and families. And with the new working together arrangements, it was important that we established a new model for the future. And we've been able to do that with a lot of hard work from all the partners have become part of that. And we've created a new governance model, which is really important. But on the front line, we are going to establish multi-agency child protection teams. So that is an excellent initiative and can only improve matters. For partners to work together in a multi-agency way in child protection is the only answer. One agency cannot do it on their own. It's crucial that we have these multi-agency child protection teams. So, future, we're going to agree and embed a quality assurance framework for these MAC-PTs, as they're known, and that is highly important. We need to know whether they're effective, and we need to examine the effectiveness of the new teams, and we will do once they've been established. So, if you could move on to the next slide, please. Thank you. Online harms. I've already alluded to online harm. This is global online harm. You may have a child that is being groomed online in Lincolnshire by somebody who lives in Burma, for example. And so it's so complex. We've established a working group to address the issues. The other concerning point is the development of artificial intelligence and deep fake videos that can cause harm. When I was at school, I could be bullied between about 9:05 and 4 o'clock. Children can be bullied online now 24 hours a day. And so it's crucial that we establish proper networks, proper processes to actually address online harm. And teachers play a really important part in this as well, from an intelligence point of view, getting to know from the children what's going on. Once again, it's fundamental, it's the sharing of information. And you'll note from reviews nationally that one of the criticisms of why these cases go wrong is the lack of sharing of information. And it's so important that this information is shared. Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. So last slide. So this is an area of assurance. So as Chris said before, the governance and duty around domestic abuse sits with colleagues in the Lincolnshire Domestic Abuse Partnership with LDAP. However, it's such a critical part of our safeguarding work that we have a area of assurance around this where we seek assurance from them, and we work really closely with them and support the work. There is a lot of information on there around the Operation Encompass. This is a police-led process whereby for every incident of domestic abuse attended by the police, a notification is sent to the school or setting where the child is attending so that that school can monitor for any impact on the child and has the context around why they might be either behaving in a certain way or displaying certain behaviours. So they don't have the detail, but they're there and alerted to it. With regards to some of the data that's referenced there and was kind of covered, some of the main challenges around relaying the information with that child focus, with that child lens. And as I said, we are working really closely with colleagues in LDAP to try and look at that from the children's perspective and not just the adults' perspective. And we're hoping that by Q3 this year, we will be able to start reporting more robustly on that within the Children's Partnership and develop that as an area of assurance moving forward. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I've got a question, or two questions here actually from Dr. Van der Zee. Responding to neglect is one of the factors that can be improved. In that context, is an uptick in Encompass notifications a positive? the system working as it should, or a negative, a growing number of issues? I'll do one question at a time. Thank you.
It's an important positive. We need to know what the full picture is around this county. And so an increase in reporting is good because people are being transparent, people are being open, and we can only react to that type of scenario. So it's very much a positive.
Thank you very much. Yes, I agree. The report highlights strong engagement from education settings. How will the partnership ensure that this enhanced contribution is sustained despite further organisational changes in local government?
Well, that's down to me, I think, as your independent scrutineer. If I felt, and as I say, I attend these meetings with education, if I felt that they were not coming up to the mark, then I would be challenging them, I would be escalating it further. I also chair audit challenge days where we look at some individual cases, we audit individual cases, and teachers come to those days as well and report on those cases as they've played a very important role in it. So I can test the system by actually being personally there with them.
Thank you, that's interesting to know. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions or comments? Councillor Davies, please.
Yeah, just a very quick one. I think the report's really good. Thank you. It's warts and all. I think that's important. And I'm particularly impressed that it recognises where things haven't gone as well as they could have done, which I think is really powerful. I was going to ask a question about future problems, but you've highlighted that really well. I suppose my one, if I'm going to critique it, which I think is important, it's very process orientated, and I get that through the nature of your work. And for example, on the training issue, you talk a lot, and there's huge amounts of training being delivered. You talk about attendance being good. I just wonder what's the timescale like for that to filter through to the front lines? When do you expect to see an improvement as a result of that training, other than just more people went on it and said it was good?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Davies, and that's exactly what I was trying to say about we're really trying to shift the report and try and focus more on impact. In relation to the training, we do try and follow up 3-6 months after every single person has completed a piece of training, and we ask for their feedback. I think some of the challenges is that it's not just LCC staff, obviously, that complete that training. You are relying on people that do the training, go back and start on with the day job. In relation to the neglect toolkit, we did it slightly differently. We didn't have training. We've had a series of workshops. We developed a resource to promote self-learning, and we've actually been out and asked for some of those specific case examples, and that's worked really well with regards to the feedback. So I think it's definitely something that we will look at around the trauma training that we have just launched, the Up Encompass training that was last year. But I think it's always a conversation I'm having with my training team is, so what? And I think they get sick of that, so what? And hopefully next year we'll be able to evidence a bit more for you, but I think it's something we're acutely aware of, and I think that is a fair challenge, definitely. Thank you.
Tara?
Thank you. I also think the LSCP is just one part of that whole picture. Within the MAC PTs and within our locality teams, we've got educational progress coordinators, we've got really strong relationships with the police, with the education sector and health. So we work together on those clear messages that we receive from LSCP, from our internal audits, from the multi-agency audits, and from any new strategy or piece of training that we develop. So it comes from the LSCP in form of training, but then within the locality in the MAC PT, we reinforce that with our partners, joint supervision, joint audits, group supervision, etc.
Thank you. Councillor Rowe, please.
Thank you. When I got page 110 and read review of restraint in secure establishments, it just worried me a little bit. I've been the visiting member there now for about 6 years. But then, of course, when I read the report, it came over as very positive. So I just really wanted to acknowledge their dedication and the work that they do at. You've put LSU, you've not anywhere put that it says Lincolnshire Secure Unit, so probably we probably ought to have that in there. But I say, just to acknowledge the work that they do and the care that they do take, and I'm aware of how thorough they are looking into where restraints are held. It did seem a bit strange that it was just one page on that, but a positive thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to ask anything? Okay, oh, thank you, Stacey.
Just by way of assurance that the LSCP at our operational delivery group did have the full report presented by the officer that goes and completes the report and the assessments, and it was very comprehensive. There was full discussion. I think for the annual report it is just that summary that we provide, but there was assurance across all the partnership around the work, and I think the work within the unit particularly was commented on as well, and especially the changes that they've made over the last year.
Stacey, can I just check? We have to include it as part of the reporting, just so you know. And I think in areas where you had multiple secure establishments, you'd report all of them. But of course, we've only got our own, which means we just so it's. I understand what you're saying. It feels a little bit incongruous with the rest of the report, doesn't it? But we have to report on that statutorily.
Thank you. I've got a question actually. What safeguarding priority presents the most challenges for you for the next 12 months, please?
Online harm. It's global. Of course, we don't have control of that. But we are working on it. And as I've said already, we've got a steering group, a multi-agency steering group. Our police colleagues are working on it on a daily basis. And they are part of our steering group. So, and with the development of artificial intelligence, we don't know where that's going to go, but we will keep a handle on it.
Thank you. It's a big problem, isn't it, online? Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other questions or comments like to be made by anybody? Thank you. Right, thank you very much, Chris and Stacey, for your report, and thank you for your comments. I propose that the committee has reviewed the annual report for the 2025-2026 and has been assured of the activity of the partnership to safeguard and promote the welfare of children in Lincolnshire, and that we receive a further annual update in July 2027. Can you please raise your hands, please, if you agree with that? Okay, I think that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'd like to, on the behalf of the committee, I'd like to thank you for coming in today. And if you need to go, please feel free to. We know you're all very busy, so we won't be offended if you leave us. But thank you again. Thank you. So item 9. Young Carers Scrutiny Review Action Plan Final Evaluation. This item is on pages 123 to 148 of the agenda pack and sets out the final evaluation of the implementation of the 12 recommendations from the Young Carers Scrutiny Review. The actions required by the committee are to 1. Review and comment on the final monitoring update in relation to the Young Carers Scrutiny Review and the progress made against the scrutiny recommendations and associated action plan attached at Appendix A. And secondly, to endorse the proposed communication strategy attached at Appendix B. Third, to note the improvements implemented across children's services and partner agencies. Fourth, to agree that the scrutiny action plan has been successfully delivered and can now be signed off. And 5, to note that ongoing development and support for young carers will continue through established business as usual arrangements. This report will be presented by Hannah Pendleton, Head of Services, Boston and South Holland locality, and Sherry Blackmore, Early Help Team Manager, Team Around the Child. Over to you, Hannah and Sherry. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. As was explained, the reason Sherry and I are here is for our second and final monitoring visit following the scrutiny review of young carers in 2024. I know I say this every time I come, but this has been such a valuable experience, both in the review and in the monitoring that's followed. It's been really beneficial to undertake that full review and then share all of the learning that we've happened upon and the progress with the committee. I also want to take a minute to recognize the specific support that the council has provided to this cohort of children this year and really express our sincere gratitude for that. As you will have seen through the paperwork provided, and I won't go through everything in detail, but we have robustly addressed the expectations that have been set and have further developed our processes that we follow as a local authority. But perhaps most importantly, we've deepened our relationships with our partner agencies and supported their knowledge about identifying and supporting young carers so that we identify them earlier and we can ensure that they're getting the right support in their role. As you'll be aware, and following on from the recommendations, we focused our work with our health colleagues and schools primarily, and our Young Care Champions Network has grown considerably. We have a much clearer understanding about who our known young carers are, and we are very prepared to highlight the impact we have for this cohort of children to Ofsted. It's been wonderful that we've had this opportunity and the challenge from the committee to make sure that we're doing our very best for this specific cohort of children. And I want to assure you that all of the work that you see in the action plan is ongoing and is moving to what we consider business as usual. As you will have seen in the communication plan, we have those key touch points through the year when different comms will go out with an intention of reaching more and more of our community and demystifying more about what young carers is. I also want to assure you that the innovation isn't going to stop here. As Lincolnshire, we always want to challenge ourselves to do the best we can for all of the children we serve. And what we have now, thanks to the support and the challenge that the committee's offered, is a much more robust process in place to identify where those innovations are needed. And we have a larger group of people to help us analyze and implement any changes that are needed. The materials we've developed, which you will have seen through the paperwork we've provided, will be regularly reviewed and updated as necessary, and importantly, following feedback from young carers themselves, their families, and our partners. Just to say, we did bring some materials that we've developed if you'd like to have a closer look when we finish today. And Sherry has very kindly brought you all Young Carer Champion badges to recognize the impact that all of you have had on the service we offer. So thank you. And we'll take any questions.
Thank you very much. Councillor Rowe, please.
Thank you very much. I think this is a fantastic example of good scrutiny. An issue was identified at scrutiny. It was discussed and a plan of action was taken that meant that we did a scrutiny review. I was fortunate to be able to attend some of those, not all of them unfortunately. It was extremely well chaired, it was well managed. As I say, we identified some issues, recommendations were made, recommendations were accepted. A plan was put in action, put in place to take action, and the actions have been reviewed twice now, very, very well, with enthusiasm, and we've made a difference. So thank you for all you've done. That really is excellent scrutiny in my mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rowe. And yes, thank you very much for all that you've done. Thank you. Any other questions? Oh, Councillor Cleaver, thank you.
Thank you. I do remember when this was last discussed, or the last time I remember it being discussed, the issue was raised about young carers being flagged on GP records, and I think you were going to go and speak with the local medical committee and see if they'd all agreed that all their members would actually implement that. Could you tell us what's happened with that?
So those discussions are still undergoing at the moment. We haven't had confirmation that that can 100% go ahead. We're still in consultation around that. And we do have a large piece of work planned over the next 12 months. We've managed to develop a Lincolnshire emergency plan for all of our young carers. And that's something that we are wanting to hold a large campaign on next year. To get EMAS and all other adult services on board, with recognising that when there is a situation of emergency for our young carers, there is a plan available in the house that everybody knows what to do, who to call, what medications their parent might be taking, etc., etc. So we're hoping to be able to push that through with adult services, and we'd like all of our colleagues in this room to help us with our campaign next year also, especially now you're going to have a badge. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to make comment? Okay, can I just ask, which groups of young carers remain the hardest to reach, though? We must still have some out there that we're not reaching. What are we going to do? How can we get over that?
So our two most difficult groups to reach remain cultural faith groups, and that really is around challenging an entire culture, and that's an issue that we face nationally. We have created over the last year PSHE resources for schools around young carers. We are now sat at 95% of our schools in Lincolnshire now have a named young carer lead, and that's been part of the work that we've done through Scrutiny and something we're hugely proud of in Lincolnshire. And recognising that has been one of the PSHE resources around how to work with a diverse range of children who may not recognise that what they're doing is actually a young carer responsibility, and how to work with those parents as well. The second group remains substance misuse, and that is very much around the shame and the fear that parents feel when there are issues linked to substance misuse, and also parental mental health. That again remains an ongoing challenging area. We have worked really hard over the last year around our data recognition, and we're now in a position where actually we can reach out with that data and say, did you realise? And I think it may be worth a conversation here, and have you asked these questions? And again, that's been part of the support from the recommendations through Scrutiny. So thank you for that.
That's really good to hear. Thank you very much. I think Councillor Oliver wanted to come in there.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to commend all of the work that has gone into improving services for our cohort of young carers. They are a remarkable cohort of children, and the responsibility that they take on their shoulders each day, as you've said, sometimes they don't even recognise how significant that really is. So the more that we do in this space, the more that we talk about it, the more we remove the stigmas around it. We've got some incredible champions within our education system now who are doing some really, really important work to ensure that they are supported. It's just to commend everyone involved, commend all of our young people who are, dealing with these huge responsibilities on a daily basis. And I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. So, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you from all of us. Councillor Rowe, please.
Yeah, just to make you all jealous, I'm actually wearing my badge already. I did a swap for a I am a corporate parent badge. yeah. It does come underneath that I am a corporate parent badge, but I think it's equally important. Thank you.
Yes, I'm wearing mine today. A corporate parent should be proud to wear your badge as well. Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments on that item? Thank you very much then. I propose the committee have reviewed the final monitoring update in relation to the Young Carers Scrutiny Review and is satisfied with the progress made against the Scrutiny recommendation and associated action plan attached to Appendix A. Endorses the proposed communication strategy attached at Appendix B. Notes the improvements implemented across children's services and partner agencies. Agrees that the Scrutiny Action Plan has been successfully delivered and can now be signed off. Notes that ongoing development and support for young carers will continue through established business as usual arrangements. And can you raise your hands if you agree, please? That's unanimous. Thank you. And thank you again for all your work you're doing. Thank you. On to item 10 then, please. Children's and Culture Scrutiny Committee work programmes. This item is on page 149 to 156 of the agenda pack and sets out the work programme for the Children's and Culture Scrutiny Committee. The action required by the committee are to review and agree the committee's work programme as set out in this report, and to highlight for discussion any additional scrutiny activities which could be considered for inclusion in the work programme. I'm going to apologise, Chiara, straight away. Chiara, because I know I'm going to say your surname wrong, but apologies. The report will be presented by Chiara Hadgi-Riona. Something like, I hope it's something like, but thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. My full name is Chiara Hadgi-Riona, but thank you very much for trying. I know it's very hard to pronounce, so hats off to you for that. Thank you. So, members, good afternoon from me as well. As you can see, we've published the work programme, which is a compilation of items that will be brought forward to this committee in future months. There has been no changes since the publication of this agenda pack, so I've got no updates to bring to you today. So taking your gaze to the next meeting, which is on the 4th of September, we've got two substantive items for debating on the agenda, and these are the new performance indicators for Q1, and the second item is the Holidays Activity and Food Programme Annual Report for 2025-2026. If members have any ideas or any potential topics that they would like to see included in future through the work programme, please raise them either today, right now, or see us after this meeting to consider potential inclusion. This is a living and breathing document, and it gets shaped with your input. So thank you very much. This concludes my update to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chiara. Thank you. Does anybody have anything they want to add to that, and suggestions for future committee? No? Okay, we're all happy with that. Thank you very much. So thank you very much for your questions and comments. This now concludes the discussion on this item. I propose that we approve the planned work programme subject to this consideration of any items highlighted in today's discussions. Can you please raise your hands if you agree? Thank you, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. That's the end of today's meeting, and thank you very much for all of your input, for our officers who have attended today, and have a safe journey wherever you're going next. Thank you.